What's going on, everybody? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Zach Rana. I'm a 7th grade science teacher in South Central LA, and this is 5 things I learned as a first-year teacher. Number 1, teaching is hard. When I was a student, I used to think that teachers didn't really have to do much. They gave me my worksheet and they maybe talked for a few minutes, showed us how to do some things, and that was it. I was like, how hard can it be?
I was so wrong.
There's so much that goes on behind the scenes as a teacher. I had no idea that lesson planning was so difficult. You literally need to have every minute of the period planned out if you want to be successful. Students don't learn well if you just tell them things. The best way to get a student to actually learn something is for them to come to a conclusion themselves. And that's the hard part about teaching, is figuring out how you're gonna get all of your students to get to the conclusion themselves. I realized early on that if I just stood at the front of the class and told them, here's how you do this thing, here's what this word means, it's gonna fly right over their heads. None of them are gonna remember any of it. Maybe 1 or 2 of them will remember that random thing I said, but everyone else? That was definitely the first thing I learned starting teaching, was that lesson planning is difficult. And to make a lesson that truly engages all the students and supports different types of learning for all different students is a huge challenge. And it's still, even after teaching for a whole year, I'm like just scratching the surface of what is possible and what being a really good teacher means. The second thing I learned is you can't take care of other people until you first take care of yourself. Being a teacher means that you're in a role where a lot of students will come to you and be like, hey, this is going on in my life, what should I do? Or hey, this crazy thing happened to me. They're sharing a lot of their lives with you, and I think that's a good thing. That should happen. I've been lucky that I've been able to build relationships with my students to the point that they feel comfortable sharing things like that, but it can be difficult if I'm not in the right state of being. And I learned that early on because I started to get burnt out at the very beginning of the year, because like I said, teaching's hard, it's exhausting, plus you're getting all of this emotional addition of, students having issues in their lives, which is normal, and you're the one that they come talk to. I learned very quickly that I needed to prioritize taking care of myself outside of school so that when I showed up to my classroom every day, I was able to be fully there for my students. Some examples for me of the most important things that I need for my personal self-care is eating, sleeping, and exercise. Those are the 3 things that I needed to do pretty much every single day, and once I prioritized those 3 things, I noticed I was showing up to school with a lot more energy. I was a lot more happy, excited to teach, and also able to listen to all of the things going on in my students' lives and be empathetic and be there for them. The third thing I learned is that I needed to find hobbies. As a teacher, especially as a first-year teacher, it's kind of overwhelming how much you need to be keeping track of in the classroom, outside of the classroom, all of the work that you're doing before and after each lesson. It gets kind of overwhelming, and I found myself constantly thinking about teaching. Like literally every second of every day, I was thinking about my lessons, I was thinking about grading, I was thinking about my students and what they had going on in their lives. And I realized that I needed to find some sort of outlet where I could take myself away from thinking about school and thinking about teaching, because it's not sustainable to be thinking about something every second of every day. Like, yes, I think that's a good sign in some ways that, I loved my job so much that I was constantly thinking about it and trying to figure out how I could improve and, all of these things. But there comes a point where it's too much, and I think we all need to have some sort of balance in our lives. And so for me, I found a few hobbies that really helped me sort of just go into the zone of doing this hobby that I loved and forget about school for the moment. For me, those 3 hobbies were lifting, making videos, and surfing. Lifting has always been like my sanctuary. I love to put on heavy metal or rap music and just lift really hard, just get in my zone. So that's always been a big one for me. Making videos has become a new side hobby and passion for me as well. I would love to, on the weekends, spend time filming and editing my videos. And then lastly, I've just discovered surfing, My roommate Matt is really into it and is really good. He's been teaching me. I'm still not very good, but I do really enjoy surfing and I love the experience of being able to just get out on the water. When you're out there, you just forget about the world. It's hard to describe if you haven't done it before, but first of all, when you're swimming past these giant waves breaking over your head and you're basically trying to survive, you can't think about anything else because you're just there with the ocean, just you and your board in the ocean, and that's it. That's all that matters. Once you get out past the break, you're just chilling there. The view is amazing. Feeling the sea breeze blowing by. Yeah, anyways, that has become a huge outlet for me. I still want to get better at it because I'm really bad. Find outlets. That's another thing that I learned. I needed to find outlets to take myself away from always thinking about teaching. The fourth thing I learned is to ask for help. Chances are that there is somebody at your school that is more experienced than you and willing to help. I promise you. I was very fortunate that my entire team was like that. Everybody else on my team that I was working with was way more experienced than me and also very willing to help me out. I literally would knock on their doors in the morning and be like, hey, can I have some advice? Like, how should I run this part of my lesson? Or I'm thinking of doing a Socratic seminar. What do you think of this strategy? Whatever it was that I wanted advice on. Shout out to all of them. I don't know if they watch my videos, but they were very helpful and I'm extremely grateful for that. Asking for help was a huge thing I learned early on that I needed to do because there was so much I didn't know. There were so many people that were way more experienced than me that had made the same mistakes I made and had learned from them and could share that knowledge with me. The fifth thing I learned this year as a first-year teacher is that building relationships is so important. It is a crucial part of teaching that you don't really learn about when you're learning the theory of teaching. You don't really learn about how important it is to build relationships with the students, and you don't really learn how to do that either. Since I was a first-year teacher, none of the students knew me before. You know, I didn't have like a reputation at the school or anything. Nobody knew who I was. The first month or two were kind of tough because I didn't really know the students. But once I started to build those relationships with them, teaching became a lot more fun for me, and the students actually behaved a lot better and tried a lot harder in my class once I had built relationships with them. And I think that's a huge part of teaching that isn't emphasized enough, is that we have to build relationships with our students for them to feel safe and loved in our classes and to then want to be successful academically. That was a lot. I hope this helped some of you if you're thinking about going into teaching or you have no intention of doing that, but you just wanted to hear about my experience. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite tip was and any other things that you might have learned along the way of your professional development. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I post videos every week, and I will see you in the next one.